whistle. Brilliant! Top draw.
Hello, welcome fans and fanatics of the football world. Welcome to another edition of your show, Football Menu. I'm your host, Ray P. We are here to discuss the interesting weekend we have just witnessed in the top 5 leagues across Europe and especially the Premier League. I am joined by my co-host, Wayne G. Greetings, Wayne.
Greetings, Ray. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another review show on Football Menu. It was quite an interesting weekend. A weekend in which you got 41 goals in the Premiership. Yes, 41 goals. And it was a good weekend for the home team.
Well, Liverpool has for their anthem, "You'll never walk alone." And surely they did not walk alone in what happened over the weekend. My goodness, Manchester United, Liverpool, Leicester City. This Premier League season it's actually going topsy-turvy already. Wayne, let's jump into the first match that we will review, Chelsea versus Palace. We did speak about it on Friday that Palace would come with a negative setup. Actually, their plan was going quite well up to the 52nd minute. And if you can recall last season, this fixture was no different. They were in it until Chelsea broke loose after half time. And that's what happened this time around. Wayne, Chelsea played very good football. They were on the front foot. But a lot must be said that Palace did not threaten. And that was why the frailties at the back that Chelsea has shown so far and over the course of last year, those frailties weren't exposed. Take us through that match.
Quite so. It was a game in which you can say Chelsea seemed to be getting their acts together, right? But given how Roy Hodgson did his setup, it was basically a possession-based kind of setup, right? But you cannot succeed against a superior one-on-one team with this kind of setup. No. And the writing was on the wall, for sure, but it was only a matter of time before Chelsea broke loose, and they did, clocking in 4 goals against a rather hapless Crystal Palace team who didn't show up. None of the guys up front showed up, and credit must be given to Chelsea for that too, with their mitigation technique in the center of the park, with Conte, of course, being chief in that regard.
Ben Chilwell was signed from Leicester City, and he came in. This was his debut, and wow, what a debut!
Yes, scoring on debut. That it was a good goal for sure. He got it on the volley. Coming under some pressure, of course. He must be thinking about, oh, I'm coming off an injury, and oh yeah, no. That didn't deter him from rifling that ball into the back of the net.
And of course, he assisted one with the header. Kurt Zuma scored. Brilliant header. I must say that going forward, Chelsea didn't look bad. But of course, we know that they have their defensive issues at the back. So let's see how over the course of the next match day they will fare and going further into the season. The window closes. That's the transfer window closes tomorrow. And whatever final deals that the teams will make, let's see how that will go. But congratulations, Chelsea winning 4-0. Wayne, let's jump right over. Leeds City. What a game. Open, expansive, end-to-end football. The neutrals were treated to wonderful football.
Yes, end-to-end, of course, from minute one right through. And it is clear that this Leeds team, they don't know when to hold or fold. And based on what we're seeing, Marcelo Bielsa, week in, week out, is showing that he's not only coaching these guys to play football, but he's training them to keep a certain tempo for each game that they play. And we saw this in the Leeds game, in the City game. And I must say, that was quite a wonderful display. And if the fans were in that stadium at Ellen Road yesterday, they would have been rocking all through the 90 minutes.
Right. Manchester City, of course, came into this fixture without Aguero, Jesus, Gundogan, and so they were not at their high quality as we would have seen and used to. But they still had ammunition enough to hurt Leeds. They got the chances to score, of course. Leeds could have won it at the end, except for a brilliant save from Edison. Speaking of Edison, he also was culpable for City's the equalizer for Leeds, given that he had a howler, dropping that ball right onto the foot of the Spanish striker Rodrigo, and he took it well. We have seen some issues here defensively. We have seen that. I don't know if it's the absence of the fans not being there with the atmosphere that they would create, and of course, when the fans are there's greater pressure on the players, so they have to step up and play better. But who would have thought that Leicester City, having dismantled Manchester City last week 5-2, would have come into a fixture against an unpredictable, inconsistent West Ham and got blown away 3-0?
Well, they always say a team is as good as their last game, and West Ham, they won 4-0 to a rather good Woods team. So coming into this game versus Leicester City at the King Power, albeit Leicester City would have been thinking, well, these guys, they can do something. They're not going to lay down, and that they didn't do. They knocked in 3 goals against an informed Leicester team, right? And that was a surprise for many people, and I don't think Brendan Rodgers was prepared to explain this to the fans. And of note, the guy we mentioned, Vladimir Kofal, he made his debut for David Moyes.
And an outstanding debut.
And he had a wonderful game.
Right.
And that, I think, was one of the difference today for
West Ham.
Yes.
If you look at it as well, I must say, West Ham were covering every inch of grass. They nullified the spaces that Tillemans and of course Castanet would be going down the right side, Justin on the left hand side. Of course, you mentioned Kofal doing a lot of good work there, and of course Declan Rice did absolutely well in that midfield. I see where Chelsea is trying to sign him, and I must say, if West Ham is to stay in the league this season, I see where Declan Rice has to be a key figure. Very outstanding player, of course.
That's quite true, and I must give credit to David Moyes this time around. His tactic of stifling the opposition and spinning on the counter or opening them up as soon as there's a little loophole, it actually worked this time. They connected well going forward, especially for Bowen and Fornals playing well together up front, and as well as
Mikel Antonio.
Yes, and Cresswell, who was quite instrumental in one of the goals, or 2 of the goals actually.
Today, as we looked at, it will go down in history. October the 4th. This is the first time Manchester United and Liverpool have conceded 6 or more goals, and they have lost on the same day, conceding those number of goals. Liverpool has this motto, "You will never walk alone," and I can see why they had that motto, because they are telling Manchester United, who got hammered by Spurs 6-1, that they will not walk alone in such embarrassing defeat, and indeed the champions are reeling. Wow, let's take it first with Manchester United. And I must say, we're going to contact a Manchester United fan to give us an update as to what transpired at Old Trafford. But in the meantime, Wayne, take us through part of the game.
It was a game which I would rather say it was a forfeiture, because Manchester United, just for the first minute in which they got the penalty, that was when they were involved in the game. From there on, it was all downhill. They and got swallowed up by Jose Mourinho's men.
Okay.
They were flowing like a rampant river going forward after a bad flood. Manchester had no answer whatsoever. Everything was clicking for Kane and Son up front. It was awesome watching them.
Bearing in mind, Wayne, that Manchester United got a penalty quite deservedly, because it was indeed a penalty in the 30th second of the game, right? And Bruno Fernandes scored that penalty. So kudos to Spurs in the way they applied themselves. They came from behind and, had a wonderful game. But we now have a Manchester United fan online. He is Arrington Roberts. Arrington Roberts, welcome to Football Menu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, Arlington. Welcome.
I know.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
I know that this hasn't sat down well with you, as well as the millions of Manchester United fans across the world, Arlington. What went wrong with your team today?
We didn't have any leadership on the field. We only have one good defender. Paul Pogba, who's supposed to be stringing the passes in the middle, is playing like he doesn't know football. Paul Pogba seemed not to be able to control the midfield, and as a result of that, we lost the game. Plus a very bad decision by the referee.
Okay, so you're saying that and you're making reference, that decision you speak about, you're making reference to the red card that Anthony Martial received.
Definitely. If Martial received a red card, so should Lamela. Although they say it's normally the aggressor if you go by the letter of the FIFA and the football rule, but it cannot be fair when you are struck in the face first, you are struck harder than you retaliate. The player that you retaliate on falls to the ground and keep rolling to get you a red card. That cannot be fair, and it's not good for football.
But Arlington, even though, let's put that aside though, but when you look at the performance of the Manchester United players, when you look at Harry Maguire, Eric Bailly, Luke Shaw, when you look at that entire back line, it is really lacking in leadership and steel, right?
You are very right. You are very, very right. And Manchester United, I'm very surprised because Manchester United has had a rich talent of, right back and left back. When you look at the two Neville brothers, Gary Neville and Phil Neville, when you look at,
Patrice Evra,
left back and right back, right, we shouldn't be having problems there. In defense, when we have the rich line of defenders, I can't believe that Manchester United has come to this. We have no back line. That's just it. We just have no back line. It's very sad though, and we are trying to get Sancho, but Sancho won't heal the problem at United. What we need is two good, solid defenders who play well. Like when you have a Nemanja Bidget and you have a Rio Ferdinand, good defenders that played well, understand the game, read the game well, and distribute the ball from the back.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Arlington. We'll have to leave it there while we continue the program. So continue to tune in to Football Menu, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, and keep up that wonderful program. It's very, very educational to football talents throughout the world.
Thank you. Okay, so when we look now, Wayne, United will have to go back to the drawing board. Of course, it's an international break, so the players will disperse to their respective countries. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got it wrong, and you must give credit to Jose Mourinho for playing on the front foot. And some of the goals were really defensive errors, but the errors were caused as a result of the dynamic press and hustle that Spurs did today.
Definitely so, definitely so. He had them focused. It was as if he was reading, this Manchester United backline isn't worth a penny, so let's go at them. They will crumble. Let's take advantage of them.
All right. Now, Liverpool, in the last two Premier League seasons, Liverpool would have lost only 4 matches. Only 4 matches. And guess what? They have now lost 5 matches in 81. That's really some statistics. That mean they have really been doing well. But when you look at what happened at Villa Park, where Aston Villa, a team that barely survived relegation last season, did some business in the transfer window, and they embarrassed the reigning champions, which I must tell you that this is the first reigning champions in English top flight football to concede 7 goals in a match since Arsenal did that against Sunderland in September 1953. We want to even take it a bit further, that Liverpool, they were playing without their number one goalkeeper. Alisson picked up an injury, and of course, Thiago, the new signing, he has tested positive for corona, and likewise Sadio Mane. But the errors that Liverpool did, and they're playing with this high defensive line, it is very risky. I know Jamie Carragher said that it is calculated risk, but for it to work and work effectively, there has to be some great pressure being placed on the ball and on the ball carrier. But take nothing away from Villa. They played well. They exploited Liverpool's weaknesses. They played with pace, and I'm telling you, Jack Grealish was on top of his game today. And of course, the former Evertonian Ross Barkley, making his debut. Of course, he's on loan from Chelsea. He relished in the position today, and he should have even grabbed a hat-trick, but he only scored 1. The chief destroyer was Ollie Watkins, who became the 10th player to score a hat-trick against Liverpool, and he is the first player to score a hat-trick against Liverpool since Dimitar Berbatov scored a hat-trick in 2010. But Ollie Watkins, only Alexander Mitrovic and Jamie Vardy, who have both scored 28 goals, have scored more goals in the top 4 tiers of English football than Watkins, who has scored 27 over the calendar year so far. So you can see where he knows where the goal is.
Yes, quite interesting reading right there. Not looking so good for Liverpool, but for Aston Villa, things are looking up, definitely. And I see, you mentioned Ross Barkley. I see him having a wonderful season. This is a confidence booster for him. Playing so well today against the champions, I see him only improving for the rest of the season.
Right, and you know, it was a wise move that he has gone to a club where he's going to get regular football, because, of course, the Euros coming up in June 2021. So, you know, that was the reason behind the decision. Quite interesting. Even though Liverpool lost the game, something of note here for Mohamed Salah, that Mohamed Salah has now scored against 25 of the 26 teams that he has played against in the Premier League since he signed for Liverpool in 2017. Wayne, Villa coming into this one were winless against the reigning champions, right? Against reigning champions, having lost 12 in a row. So quite an emphatic performance, dominant.
Yes, and the only bad thing about this performance today is that
the fans.
It's not that the fans are missing, but it's that I, for one, don't see them getting any better than that going forward. But for a team like an Aston Villa, it is normally at a very high peak in terms of performance, and then right back down, and we're like, oh, they're back down to earth.
Okay. Well, just some important pieces of statistics here so far, because you know we have now completed match 4 of the season, and what we are seeing, 38 games played. Remember, 2 matches weren't played on the opening weekend, and of 38 matches we have now gone 144 goals. That's an average of 3.79 goals per game. That's the highest goal per game ratio in English top flight football since 1930-31 season, when the goals per game ratio was 3.95. What we are also seeing, Wayne, we should also mention this, that Jose Mourinho was playing against a club that he previously managed, and he has now equaled the biggest margin of victory for a manager playing against his former club since Brendan Rodgers' Liverpool beat Swansea 5-0 in February 2013. And of course, Manchester United conceded 6 goals for the third time, with each, that's in their history, with each happening in October. So it seemed like if you are going by omens, October is not a good month for Manchester United. They suffered. They conceded 6 goals in 1996 against Southampton, in 2011 against Manchester City, and of course 2020 against Spurs. Wow, we are in for it for this. And someone said, Wayne, that 2020 will be a really it's a weird and bizarre year. Can we be surprised anymore? Now, let's jump right into it for Serie A. Some interesting results from Serie A. 23 goals were scored. Atalanta, of course, the biggest winners were Atalanta, 5-2 winners over Cagliari, and AC Milan 3-0 win over Spezia. Sassuolo also defeated Crotone 4-1. What we're seeing now, Wayne, is that Atalanta has now created history by becoming the first team in Serie A to score 4 or more goals in their opening 3 matches of a campaign.
Yes, they're bubbling, and I don't see them finishing lower than second in the Serie A this season. Remember, I'm telling you that right now.
And of course, the fans will see the tables and the results for the various leagues on the screen. In La Liga, champions Real Madrid, they won 2-0 over Levante, while Betis, they are doing well in the table so far. They defeated Valencia 2-0. Of course, Real Sociedad defeated Getafe 3-0, and it was 1 apiece between Barcelona and Sevilla. Of course, the former Liverpool man, Philippe Coutinho, grabbed the equalizer for Barcelona. In the Bundesliga, it was Bayern Munich, having suffered that defeat last week against Hoffenheim. Then it went down 4-1 to Hoffenheim. They won the German Super Cup against Borussia Dortmund 3-2. What an interesting match that was in midweek. They returned to winning ways in the Bundesliga. They won 4-3 over Hertha Berlin, where all 4 goals came from the man, the European Player of the Year, Lewandowski. That's what he's been called now. So Robert Lewandowski, that's, of course, his real name is Lewandowski, right? Dortmund won 4-0 against Freiburg, and of course, RB Leipzig continuing life without Timo Werner. They won 4-0 over Schalke. In Ligue 1, Bordeaux won 3-0 over Dijon. Lille, who they are doing quite well in Ligue 1, they won 3-0 over Strasbourg. It was 6-1 demolition for PSG over Angers, and Rennes, the team leading the table, they drew 2-2 with Reims. Wayne, interesting, wonderful week of football. But let's go into the goals of the Premier League so far. Before I go into the goals of the Premier League, there were 3 pieces of goalkeeping errors that resulted in goals being scored against their teams. And we just want to highlight those goalkeepers who had some howlers. Of course, Jordan Pickford, the England number 1, who is the custodian for Everton. He fumbled a ball, easy catch. He let it fall to a player, and of course he was brutally punished by Neil Maupay of Brighton. Luckily for Pickford, Everton won that game 4-2. Of course, Edison from Manchester City was playing so well. He made some brilliant saves against Leeds, but it was his error that caused Rodrigo to equalize. And in that demolition, Villa's demolition of Liverpool, Adrian, who was deputizing for Alison Becker, in the opening 3 minutes, conceded a goal because of a poor error on his part, giving away that ball into no man's land, and he was brutally punished by Ollie Watkins. Goals of the week, Wayne.
I have one pick.
Go ahead.
Ben Chilwell.
Yes.
Ben Chilwell. Running into the box, reading up the half clearance from the Crystal Palace defender, charging onto the ball, smacking that volley right into the back of the net. The goalkeeper had no chance. But of course, one would be thinking the pressure was coming on from the defender who rose a leg right there, but he wasn't thinking anything about him just coming off an injury. All he wanted was to connect fully with that ball, and that he did, and Chelsea went up 1-0.
Yeah. The man himself, who is leading the table in form, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Of course, he is on 6 goals along with Son Heung-min of Tottenham. But Calvert-Lewin went up yesterday brilliantly. He timed his jump well. And at the back post, he scored that opening goal to give Everton the 1-0 lead. Of course, he has now scored 6 goals, and he is now the first Everton player to score in his opening 4 matches of a top-flight campaign in England since 1938, when Tommy Lawton scored 4 goals, scored in 4 matches in the opening campaign in 1938. Another brilliant goal was scored in that game, though, Wayne. Yves Bissouma from Brighton, right foot one from the just outside the box off that right peg. Brilliant shot, and I tell you, that is one of the goals of this round. You can see a clip of it there on screen. Against Arsenal, David McGoldrick scored a brilliant goal, cutting on his left foot and bending one past goalkeeper Bernd Leno. Even though Sheffield United lost that one 2-1. And you mentioned Ben Chilwell. So those are the goals of the round so far. Wayne, I must say that I have 2 treats. When you look at Chelsea's win over Crystal Palace, Chelsea got a second penalty, of course, when Kai Havertz was brought down by Mamadou Sakho. And of course, Tammy Abraham took up the ball and wanted to kick it. But of course, you know, Jorginho is the designated penalty kicker for Chelsea. Captain Cesar Azpilicueta had to intervene, took the ball from Tammy Abraham and said, no. Jorginho is the designated penalty kicker. Tammy Abraham wasn't pleased, and you can see a clip of it there on your screen. The next treat of the week, is from former Manchester United French defender Patrice Evra, who was working as a pundit on Sky Sports. And at halftime, Manu were trailing 4-1 to Tottenham. And he said, it's best if the fans go out and buy a PlayStation, buy a player such as Sancho or Messi, because this is embarrassing. Patrice Evra, he lost his cool on TV because of the embarrassing situation. So those are the 2 treats of the week. Interesting times. We go for an international break where the players will represent their respective countries. The league will resume on the 17th of October, when of course the Merseyside derby will capture our attention, as well as Manchester City hosting Arsenal. Wayne, any final words?
Thank you, fans. Thanks for joining us. We always appreciate your time. It's been wonderful. It was a wonderful weekend of football. Please remember, the international break is on. Tune into the games, and you'll see us again when the league resumes.
And remember, like, subscribe, share the video, post your comments. Remember, stay safe. One love. Peace.